and B is the intercept, right? Now, how do you find slope? So sometimes they give you slope, right? Sometimes you have to find it on your own. How do you find slope if you have to find it on your own? So slope, which is represented by M, is rise over run. Now, I don't know. M is some sort of, it stands for some sort of Latin word that has to do with like slope, but I don't remember what it is. I looked it up years ago and I don't remember. So think of your coordinate plane. Which variable is the rise variable? Which variable goes up and down? That's your y, right? So when we say rise, we're talking about the change in your y. How much does your y go from one spot to another spot? How far do you have to go, right? And when we say run, what variable is that? That's your x variable. So this is going to be your change in your x, right? Now, what mathematical operation is change? Subtraction. So you're doing one y minus another y and one x minus another x. Now, we do have to be a little more specific. So this has to be the same point, the y and the x, and this has to be the same point, the y and the x, okay? Excuse me. Okay, so that's how you find slope, right? Now, let's say you're given 2 points. Let me grab the problems off the practice it just so that they come out nice and pretty and make my life easier. So let's say you're given 2 points. 10, 10, 4, negative 2. All right? They gave you these 2 points. And the question is, write an equation for this line, right? A line that passes through 10, 10, and 4, negative 2. That's the question. Now remember, we want this to be, in this case, in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b, right? So we want to put it in slope-intercept form. So if we're going to put it in slope-intercept form, we need slope and the y-intercept, right? Do we know the slope? We don't know the slope. Can we find the slope? How do we find the slope? Well, we're just going to go back and use that slope formula, right? So what would the slope be in this case? What math would we do here? So we're going to use, you're wanting to use this y first, right? And then this y second. So you're going to have 10 minus negative 2. They're on my desk, Miss Russell. You're welcome. And that book on top is the one I have borrowed from my student. And I've just thumbed through it. But it looks good. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so this y minus this y. Now, since we use this y first, guess which x we have to use first? That one. So on the bottom, we're going to do 10 minus 4, right? So what does that give us as slope? Well, let's take care of those. That gives me a 12. And then what's 10 minus 4? And then if I simplify that, 2. Now remember, if we're graphing, we want it to be a fraction. So we would do 2 over 1. But we're not graphing, right? So we're okay with our slope just being a nice, pretty whole number, 2. Now, this gives me my slope, but I'm not done yet. I still have to put this, I need my b, right? So we've got 2 ways that we can find this b. There's more than 2, but 2 ways I'm going to show you, right? So let's talk about finding b. I'm going to make this little box over here. Finding b. So one way that we can find b is we can take this slope-intercept form, right? And we can plug in a y, an m, and an x, and then solve for b. Now, these have to be from the line. So we need a y and an x that are on the line, and then the slope that we just found, right? So we have 2 points here, 10, 10, 4, negative 2, that are on the line, right? Those are x and y values on the line. So we can use either one of those to plug into this, but we have to use the same x and y from the same point, right? So I'm going to use 10, 10. I tell you what, let's do 4, negative 2, just because that way they're different numbers, not the same thing. Bless you. So where y is, again, we're going to put -2 because the y value is -2. And then where m is, we're going to put +2 because that was what we just found out. I don't know why I wrote that so high, y'all. And then that x value is 4, right? And then b is what we don't know. That's what we're looking to find. Okay? We only have one variable here, b. We can solve this equation for that one variable, right? So what would we do? Multiply those two guys. Then what? Yep, subtract that 8. So what does that leave b as? -10. So our equation would be y equals 2x minus 10. That would be the equation of our line, right? It is. For some reason, it's blurry over here on this corner.
I don't know if that was my eyes or...
No, for some reason it's blurry, and I've been trying, like, I can get it clear, but it won't stay clear. And I don't know why.
I was just wondering if my eyes...
Now, that's one method. That's just finding b and then rewriting the equation, right? Well, we have another method that you need to know, and it's when you use point slope form. Point slope form. Does anybody remember point slope form? Do y'all remember it? You remember it, Trey? What do you think it is? It's okay if you don't. It's okay. Oh, you just remember the name. So remember, anytime that you're talking about forms of a line, the name tells you what you need, right? A point and the slope. So point slope form looks like this. y1 minus y2 equals m times x1 minus x2. Y'all, all point slope form is the slope formula rearranged. That's all it is. Like, they literally just multiplied both sides by x1 minus x2 to rearrange it. That's all they did. Now, the cool thing about the point slope form is once you plug in your numbers, you have the equation for the line. It's in point slope form, but you have the equation for the line. So you would plug in a value for this y, a value for m, and a value for that x from the line. So you need a point on the line and the slope, right? So do we have a point on this line? Yeah. So we're going to use that for -2 again, okay? So we've got y minus -2. -2 because that's my y value. Remember, our point was 4 -2, right? So, and then our m that we found was 2, right? And then x minus 4, because that's my x value, 4. Now let's take care of these double negatives. What do we do? Change it into positive. That's the equation of the line in point slope form, right? So that's the equation of the line in point slope form. Point slope form is not a super useful form, and we normally change it from point slope to slope intercept, okay? Do you know what we're going to do that? Like, how do we change this to look like that? What are we going to do to this to make it look like that over there? Exactly. So the very first thing we got to do is get rid of those parentheses by doing the distributive property. So we're going to do 2 times x, which is 2x, 2 times -4, which is -8, right? Then what? Subtract that 2. And so our answer winds up being y equals 2x minus 10. Does that look familiar to you? They're exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Now, this one looks harder. Yes, it does look harder. But if you go step for step what you're doing, it's really not any harder. I prefer this one. My personal preference, I prefer to do this one. But this isn't bad. It's just remembering that slope-intercept form is the hardest thing. And once you remember that's just the slope formula rearranged, it ain't even hard to remember anymore. right? Okay. Does that all make sense though? Do we make sense of everything? Remember, you need to know the point slope form because you will have occasions where they ask you for the equation of a line in point slope form.
Can I eavesdrop?
Go ahead.
I had a student tell me yesterday.
Okay, so we've got this one. Can y'all see that? No. Can y'all see it now? Line K goes through point 1, -3 and through point 3, 5. Okay? Y'all with me? Okay. We want to write the equation for this line. What do we have to write the equation for this line? We got to have a slope. We don't. But we have 2 points. And what can you do when you have 2 points? Right. So that we're going to use that, y equals mx plus b. But before we get there, we got to do what? What do we have to find? You already told me this once. I'm just reaffirming. Slope. So we've got to find the slope. How are we going to do that? What's the formula to find the slope? Rise over run, right? What is rise over run? Okay, so I'm going to write change in y over change in x just because it's easier to write. Okay? Rise over run takes longer. Now, change in y means we're subtracting the y's. What are the y's we're subtracting here? What are our y values? So we got -3 and we've got 5. Which one do y'all want to use first? 5. So we would do 5 minus, because minus is the operation, -3. Now, then that makes it plus. Yes. Since we used 5 on top first, we got to use that 3 first, right? So we're going to do 3 minus 1. So what's 5 plus 3? What's 3 minus 1? So that simplifies to. So our slope is going to be 4. We're going to be putting 4 in there. Now we got to find the b. So remember we've got 2 options here, right? We're going to do them both. So on this side we're going to do point slope form. And on this side we're going to do find the b. Okay? So how do we find the b? How do we find the b? So we're going to take y equals mx plus b and just plug in values from the line for y, m, and x, right? That means we need a point from the line and the slope. Okay, which point do y'all want to use? 3, 5? All right, so what goes where y is? What goes where m is? Where does the 4 come from? The one we found, right? We found that slope. And then what goes in where x is? 3, and then we've got the b, right? So now what? 4 times 3 is 12, right? Then what? Subtract the 12. What does b wind up being? So our equation here would be y equals what? 4x minus 7. That's our equation of our line, right? Now let's do point slope form. Now remember, point slope form is y minus y equals m parentheses x minus x, right? That is point slope form. In point slope form, you need a point and the slope. Exact same thing we need for finding the b, right? Exact same stuff. So we can even use the exact same point we just used, right? So we use 3, 5 as our point. This 3, this 5. So we're going to do y minus 5. That's my y value. 4 for my slope. That was my calculated slope. And then x minus 3. That's my x value. Now, this equation, that right there is an equation for the line. And if they ask for the equation in point slope form, boom, we're done. That's it. We're done. Most of the time, that's not what we want, though. So most of the time we're going to have to go ahead and go forward with this and manipulate this to look like y equals mx plus b. Okay? So how do we manipulate this to look like y equals mx plus b? So we're going to do that distributive property, right? That gives us 4x minus 12, right? And then we're going to add 5 to both sides. And that gives us y equals 4x minus 7. Boom! Same answer either way. Y'all see it? Yael, whenever I switch over to Google, is it showing that or is it still just showing the Elmo screen? It still just shows the Elmo screen? That's what I thought it was doing. It's actually what I want it to do anyway, so I was just checking. Okay, so y'all, we've got this next problem that says that line O passes through point 5, negative 1 and has a slope of 4. That's what it says. This is the information given to us. I want an equation for this line. What am I going to do? Okay. Y equals mx plus b. Boom. Put 4 for slope. Put the 5 here? No. So, do the formula to find b. Is that what you said? I think I just didn't hear you right. Those masks, y'all. I can't hear good with those masks on. I'm not telling you to take it off. I'm just saying I can't hear good with them on. You have to be, like, understanding of that. Okay, so what do I put here? Let's start again. Okay? We're just going to mark that all out. Let's start all over. So 4 goes where M is. That's what y'all said, right? Okay, what else? Okay, so what is that? What is the Y? It's negative 1. It's this Y value right here, right? Okay, what's the X? 5. Right? Now we just got to do some solving. So what's 4 times 5? So we're going to minus 20. That's going to give us, so B is going to be negative 21. So our equation would be Y equals 4x minus 21. Right? If we wanted to put this in point slope form, point slope would be y minus y equals m parentheses x minus x. Y minus negative 1. That's our y value, right? Negative 1. M is 4. And then x minus 5, because 5 is our x value. Okay? And then, of course, we deal with that. And then we would do our distributive property. So we have 4x minus 20 over here. Y plus 1 over there. Subtract that 1. Y equals 4x minus 21. See how you can get it either way? And really, step for step, this one's shorter. Really. I like this one better too, but this one's shorter. Okay. I think the next one says that they give us this. The line goes through this point and has this slope. Y'all, if x is 0, where is this at on the coordinate plane? If x is 0, it's on the y-intercept, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's on the y-axis, which means this is your y-intercept. That's your B. They gave you the B.
She said if it's ever 0 for x,
Yeah.
don't do it.
No, you don't have to do any work. You don't have to do any work. Like, literally, if we have a graph, if you're not going left and you're not going right, you're on this y-axis. That's where your line crosses the y-axis. Y'all, they gave us the B and they gave us the slope. So the only thing we have to do is y equals negative 2x plus 9. And we're done. that make sense? Y'all with me?
Did we skip over number 4?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's the same thing as number 3, just with a fraction.
Fraction.
I just skipped it because it's the same stuff.
I hate fractions.
Okay. Your assignment, y'all listening? Are you listening? Your assignment is lesson 24, assess it. The assess it and the show it are the same. So that's why I'm giving you the assess it. Because I don't have to do anything to make the assess it. Great. So lesson 24, assess it. That's your assignment. Lesson 24, assess it. It's only like 5 questions. And it is due before class starts tomorrow. Okay? Well, I mean, like, you can come in before the bell rings and work on it if you're not done. But I would suggest doing it before then.
I don't know how to do that.
You have a calculator on your Chromebook. Yeah. You have a graphing calculator on your Chromebook. You can skip it.